Igneous Hammer and Bottom Dollar are two of the most sought after weapons in the entire game. With both of these weapons being a 120 hand cannon and being in the energy weapon slot, it has finally given everyone the opportunity to diversify their loadouts. People can finally start using some of the often overlooked special weapons that are located in the kinetic slot. Eye of Soul, Astral Horizon, and even Chaperone are all very effective options to pair with these new 120 Goliaths. With that being said, there are still some discrepancies between the two, and there may be times when one may provide more benefits in certain situations over the other. So this is the third versus video I've done in this series, I guess we can call it, where I compare similar weapons of the same weapon archetype. If you want to check out the other ones, I'll put a link to them in the description, but basically what I do is I provide some of the individual weapons' base stats, possible perks, and overall performance in PvP. I then go into some more analytical reasonings for why people might choose certain weapons over the other ones. Ultimately, it's going to boil down to you and what you prefer to use, but hopefully I'm able to provide you with some resources that might aid in that decision. We're going to start off by going over Bottom Dollar, which can be earned as an end game match reward from completing Gambit matches. Bottom Dollar is one of the two new weapons that were added to the end of match reward pool for Gambit. The most efficient way to earn this weapon is to make sure you equip the Prosperity mod on your Ghost, which increases your chance at earning an extra legendary drop after each Gambit match you win. Now, in one of the most recent patches, Bungie actually increased the drop rate of all of these playlist specific weapons. There may be times where you go 10 plus games without one dropping, or you may end up getting two to drop at one time. Believe it or not, I actually have experienced that for both Gambit and Crucible. But honestly, it's completely RNG, so just make your daily sacrifice to the RNG overlords and hope that you get it to drop as frequently as possible. The Bottom Dollar is a 120 RPM void energy hand cannon that has an optimal time to kill of 1 second and a body shot time to kill of 1.5 seconds. Stat wise, Bottom Dollar is worse in every single category, plain and simple. Stability, range, reload speed, recoil direction, you name it. Bottom Dollar has a lower base stat in every single category compared to Igneous Hammer. However, where I really think this weapon excels is in the possible perk combinations we can get to roll on it. Now, although the perk pool is extremely massive for this weapon, like 12 possible perks for each of the last 2 perk slots massive, we can really get some solid combinations for this weapon. The tricky part is actually getting those rolls to drop at the same time. It might happen first try, it might never happen, but in the case that it does, I wanted to go over the different perk combinations that will be good for different situations. Now, obviously, if you get one of these rolls to drop for you, you could use it in any playlist you want to, but I think there are specific roles that perform better in certain playlists compared to others. For example, one really popular perk to roll on 120 hand cannons right now is the perk Rampage. And while Rampage is a very rewarding perk to have on such a high damage weapon, I think it shines brighter in playlists that have more opportunities to shoot more people, i.e. 6v6 playlists. Now again, I'm not saying that Rampage won't perform well in 3v3 playlists. I'm just saying that in order to really get the benefit of Rampage as often as you can, you'll probably see more benefits in the playlists that have more people in them. I recently made a video on what the best perks to look out for on hand cannons were, and which ones you should keep your eye on when trying to look for your specific god roll. If you want more information on those perks, click the video link in the description. When we look at the first 2 columns for Bottom Dollar, I would say the 2 stat categories we want to see bumps in are range and stability, with handling being an okay third option. If you're someone who struggles with controlling the recoil of hand cannons, I'd maybe try to spec for perks that provide bumps to stability, like Chambered Compensator, Fluted Barrel, Polygonal Rifling, and Small Bore. Small Bore is kind of the best of both worlds for this first column. In the magazine column, your main perk is going to be Accurized Rounds, as it is the only perk that adds a bump to range in that slot. For the first perk column, boy do we have some options to choose from. So instead of just naming the ones that I think are good, I think it would be more efficient to name the ones that are not good. 4th times the charm and Hipfire Grip can politely find their way to the dismantle pile. And I'm also kind of inclined to throw a Pulse Monitor up there, though there could be some moments where Pulse Monitor might be nice. But there are just way better perks to get in this column. Rangefinder is probably the creme de la creme in this slot, with Quick Draw and Rapid Hit close behind. Any one of those 3 would be excellent. In the last perk column, there are 2 absolute top tier perks, and those are Opening Shot and Rampage. With just 1 stack of Rampage, we can 2-tap any Guardian that has a resilience stat lower than tier 5. An Opening Shot gives us that awesome increase to effective range on the first shot of attack. There are a few perks that I would probably put in a tier or two below these, as they aren't terrible perks, but they are noticeably worse than Opening Shot and Rampage. Eye of the Storm, Explosive Payload, and Multi-Kill Clip are average perks to get in this slot. So if you end up getting something like Rangefinder Explosive Payload or Quick Draw Multi-Kill Clip, those are definite keeps. Again, perks that you prefer might be different than the ones I prefer, so take these tips with a grain of salt. But for the most part, these are going to be the more desired perks to have on the bottom dollar. Bottom dollar has some real potential to be good for both 6v6 and 3v3 game modes. With a role like Rangefinder Opening Shot, I can really see this excel in 3v3 modes like Trials, because for each engagement, you can meticulously plan when you want to engage, and you can do that from quite a distance away. Or maybe you want a role like Subsistence Rampage to slay out in 6v6, which by the way is actually insane to use. I've got one that has this exact role, and for the very first game I used it, I ended up with like 27 kills just using my bottom dollar. I was able to go from 2-tap to 2-tap. Don't sleep on this role, it can really pump out some damage. Bottom dollar has a ton of potential. The only barrier is actually getting the roll that you want to drop. Next, let's go over Igneous Hammer, which is a 120 RPM solar energy hand cannon. Igneous Hammer has an optimal time to kill of 1 second and a body shot time to kill of 1.5 seconds. As I mentioned earlier, Igneous Hammer is better in every statistical category when we compare it to bottom dollar, which is one of the reasons why I think the weapon is so desirable. The other reason Igneous Hammer is so sought after is because of the perk combinations. Unlike bottom dollar, Igneous Hammer only has 5 possible perks that can roll in the last 2 perk categories, meaning you theoretically have a better chance at getting a roll that you like. And with most of the possible perks on this gun being close to top tier perk options, there really is no bad rolls you can get. Well, almost. Looking at you, Celerity. In the final perk column, our options are Quick Draw, Killing Wind, Outlaw, Rapid Hit, and Subsistence. Honestly, you can't go wrong with any of these perks in this first slot. I would probably put Subsistence a tier below all of the other ones just based on these perks alone, but Subsistence can be paired with Rampage in the next perk column for some crazy damage potential. In my opinion, the absolute top tier options for this category are Quick Draw and Rapid Hit. Outlaw is very noticeable on 120s, as they are pretty notorious for having slow reload speeds, even with a hand cannon reloading mod equipped. In the second perk column, as I said just a moment ago, Rampage is one of the more sought after perks in the game for 120s right now. With the 2-tap potential always looming for 120s, I would keep any roll you get that has Rampage on it. S tier perk for this weapon. In the next tier down, I would probably place Snapshot and Moving Target as our next best perks to get on this weapon. Creating more opportunities for a sluggishly feeling 120 hand cannon can really make engagements feel a lot better for you. One for All has some potential, but for 3v3 modes it's a little more difficult to proc, as you would have to engage with every opponent on the other team, and even if you do end up doing that, you'll likely die before you even get to see the damage benefits of the perk. And then finally, Celerity, which at its core isn't a terrible perk for 3v3 modes, but as you know, I just don't like perks that require you to be put at a disadvantage in order to be procced. I'd much rather have a perk that is always active. To be honest, Celerity should be an intrinsic perk for the Flawless Trials weapons, on top of them being Adept. I think that would be an excellent way to increase the desirability for flawless loot, but that's a topic for another day. For the barrel and magazine slots, we have roughly the same options, so make your choices based on your desire for range, stability, or handling benefits. Though in the magazine slot, instead of having accurized rounds and steady rounds, we get to choose from ricochet rounds, armor piercing rounds, and high caliber rounds. All 3 are a solid choice, with ricochet rounds probably taking home the cake as the best perk in slot. In my opinion, the best rolls to get for Igneous would either be Rapid Hit Rampage or Quick Draw Rampage. As a controller player, I'll take any kind of stability bump I can get, and that's what a perk like Rapid Hit can provide for me. Quick Draw Rampage is probably the best overall roll to get on this hand cannon during the current state of this meta. Being able to switch to and from this 120 while also getting the potential for many 2-tap kills is always a lethal option in PvP. Now for the ultimate question. Is one better than the other? My answer is yes, but in different situations. In my opinion, Igneous Hammer is the overall better weapon. For 6v6 playlists, I think it has more potential to be the better hand cannon simply because of its stats and perks. However, I think bottom dollar might have more potential to be the better hand cannon in 3v3 playlists, and I'll explain why. Bottom dollar has a bunch of possible perk combinations, so the possibilities for it to roll the perk that you want or that you think is the best roll is more likely to happen than it is with Igneous. With perks like Rangefinder, Opening Shot, Multi-Kill Clip, and Eye of the Storm, you can really cater your individual playstyle more so to bottom dollar than you can with Igneous Hammer. Now, that obviously doesn't mean Igneous Hammer is bad in 3v3 playlists. I just think bottom dollar has more potential to be the better weapon in those playlists because it can cater to more people's playstyles. I hope that makes sense. According to the community poll I took a few days ago, most of you seem to agree that if you were to get a god roll of either the Igneous Hammer or the bottom dollar, you would have chosen the Igneous Hammer. If you missed out on the poll, let me know in the comments which one you would rather prefer, or if this video swayed your decision any differently. I'm curious to hear your guys' responses. If you want to check out my last video on what the best hand cannon perks are for your specific playstyle, that video should be coming up on your screen. Links to all of my socials are in the description down below. Thank you all very much for watching. Liking the video is always appreciated, and as always, we'll see ya.